Heyo fellow Dragonborn, Kato Genesis here, with a guide to the uniques, primarily jewelry, that you can get through fishing in Skyrim. Through fishing quests, you'll be able to get 4 unique rings, 2 unique amulets, 1 unique hat, possibly, and 1 unique dagger. Additionally, there are 5 unique rings that you can get at random outside of the fishing quests. I'll also make mention of a couple of things that are just simply new, but kind of fall into that gray area of not quite being unique. Much like many no-nonsense guides I've done in the past, I'll be showing you what these items can do as well as where to find them, and go by quest progression as much as I can, so if you start going into spoiler territory, you'll know immediately. With that, let's get some fistfuls of jewelry, shall we? We'll begin with the Ring of Surroundings. This yellow jeweled ring grants a 20% bonus to sneaking when worn. And like many of these, because of how early you can gain this, you probably won't come across anything with this high of a sneak enchantment unless you do it yourself, which obviously takes time. Sneak ring good, is what I'm saying. So now on where to get it. We'll be under the assumption for most of this guide that you have been to the Riften Fishery and met up with Viriya and swims in deep water. After your first introductory quest with Viriya to get a juvenile mud crab for her, you can then get a bounty from Viriya for a glassfish, starting the mission clear-headed. This of course asks you to obtain a glassfish for the alchemist in Falkreath, Zarya. I don't think there needs to be an entire walkthrough on this part, but I will mention that I did catch a glassfish in Lake Ilinalta in Falkreath. So once you do have a glassfish, you can bring it back to Zarya, she makes up a potion, and after you deliver said potion and return, your reward will be the Ring of Surroundings. We're now onto the unique that you have an option of keeping if you're a dirty liar, and that is the Lucky Fishing Hat. And as far as I know, it's the only unique fishing attire that you can get. It says on the Lucky Fishing Hat, when worn, rainstorms occur whilst fishing at temperate lakes and streams. And it does just that. Cast in a line while you're wearing this hat, and it will begin to rain in lake and stream areas. If it's Arctic or cave, obviously it's not going to work. But this is used in a device in the quest that you get it from, because the fish you're trying to catch are only active while it's raining. So after you finish Catch of the Day, which I believe is your first fishing mission, your first fishing mission for swims in deep water, the next task he hands to you will be a list of rainy weather fish, but there will be a side note of asking you to find his lucky fishing hat as well. In this case, the quest shows you exactly where to go, and that will be on the little island on the lake east of Iberstead. So if you go over there and use that fishing spot, you should fish up the lucky fishing hat and then be able to continue your quest in finding the rainy weather fish. I need to mention something really quick too. If you're having trouble getting the pygmy sunfish, you can catch them by hand in the East March hot springs. Just make sure it's raining when you get there. After you get said fish and return to swims in deep water, you have the opportunity to lie and say you did not find his hat, in which case you'll be able to keep it for yourself, even wear it in front of him as an insult. But if you do return it to him, there will be no way to get it back via pickpocketing and whatnot. Those of you saying, how could you lie to this face? How could I lie to this face? Well, I will mention that there is a ring with this exact same effect that you can find later on too. So for the sake of the rest of the quest, you'll be fine without the fishing hat, unless you're absolutely dead set on having it as part of your collection. Back to the unique rings, we're on to the Warlock's Ring, which has a variety of helpful effects. It says, while blocking, it creates a ward that protects against spells for up to 25 points. Health regenerates 30% faster, and you move 5% faster. It appears as though this ward is half the strength of what you would get from something like Spellbreaker. However, because it's a ring and not a shield, you can have this ward up when you're blocking with a weapon too. And yes, it is still effective on things like Dragon's Breath. It's a ward spell. In fact, if this ring came with just the ward effect, it would still be something considering in whatever loadout you're using. So let's go over where to find the Warlock's Ring, and about a third into the dual quest line that you get between Viriya and Swims in Deep Water, you'll eventually get a fishing contest notice from Viriya for the quest No Contest. If you take the open challenge to meet up with an old fisherman in Morthal, where betting your money doesn't matter, you'll later find out that this was just an ambush. And it turns out that this fisherman was actually, well, maybe a warlock. Included in the loot that you find off of these bandits will be some Vagrant robes or Vagrant equipment, which seems to be something newly added as well, but not entirely unique. I wouldn't call it unique. But the treasure off of Brutius has yet to be found. Checking out the journal on his body will reveal that he lost his ring in the very fishing spot you'll be next to. So cast in a line, and eventually you'll fish up the Warlock's Ring. It's just that easy. Next in the unique jewelry is the Vampiric Ring, and I'll give you one guess as to what it does. Yes, it gives you the Drain Life spell when you equip it. So you don't have to be a vampire at all to drain the life force of an enemy of your choice. I myself found it more gimmicky than anything, but there might be some like hidden spell benefits, like in the destruction tree or something, that actually that empower this in some way. I have a feeling that might be the case. I did also find out that this also allows companions who are equipped with this ring to cast the spell as well. So say, for example, you equip this to Lynea, she will be able to cast Drain Life as if she were a vampire too. I just found that interesting and cool in general. Maybe just equip companions with the Vampiric Ring, see what happens. So now on to how to get the Vampiric Ring. We're continuing on with the quests related to fishing and whatnot. So since the progression is a bit weird, so I'm going to try to give you a bit of a ballpark. Around the time after Crustacean Extermination, which is like the midpoint of Viriya's quests, you'll be able to get a bounty from her for a target called Fang Tusk, which will start the quest Tusked Terror. This quest asks you to catch an Arctic grayling, which is fished up in Arctic areas. And by this point, you should have the Argonian fishing rod, which you can use to raise the chances of getting a large fish. Take the Arctic grayling to Fang Tusk's feeding grounds, which is northeast of Windhelm. Do that, and Fang Tusk, the apparent vampiric horker, comes out of the water and attacks you. The fun spin on this is that it drains your life if you're close to it. Take out Fang Tusk and loot its body, and you'll realize that it consumed a vampire and was channeling the ring that vampire was wearing. I feel like that would be a fun story on its own, finding out how a horker ended up eating a vampire. Next up is not a ring. There's more, but not a ring. It's Lynea's Amulet of Dibella. Like other amulets of Dibella, this does give a 15-point bonus to speech. However, it also gives a 40-point bonus to your stamina. So double enchanted Amulet of Dibella. This makes this Amulet of Dibella benefit social skills as well as combat and running and such. So on to where to get Lynea's Amulet of Dibella. After finishing up the Tusked Terror mission, you can return to Viriya and get another bounty, or wanted note in this case, for a fishing tutor, which begins the quest Private Lessons, in which you go to Markarth to teach Lynea how to fish, but really it's just you fishing and her commentating on it. Just having a captive audience while you're fishing is kind of funny. But after you catch 3 fish in her presence, Lynea will give you her Amulet of Dibella, an extremely generous gift for letting her watch you fish. Another ring you can acquire through fishing quests is the Ring of Khajiit. When worn, the Ring of Khajiit allows you to move 10% faster and allows you to cast the spell Hide. So let's get into how to get the Ring of Khajiit. After you've helped out with Private Lessons, the next quest you should get would be Spirits Away via another bounty notice. And this one will be by our favorite caravan master, Rhysad, who lost, quote, 3 exquisite bottles of Flynn, which conveniently fell into the water, and you'll need to fish them out. The location indicated should be in the Reach, and once you fish up all 3 bottles of Flynn and return to Rhysad, he will reward you with the Ring of Khajiit. Next up is the second and last of the amulets on this guide, which is Viriya's Charm. This amulet grants the ability to swim underwater without drowning, as well as increasing light and heavy armor skills by 22 points. And this turns out to be a cute little wooden token with a mud crab on it. Now, as for where to get it, this is when you hit the ending of Viriya's quests. After all the mud crab related shenanigans, I don't want to spoil this because the quests she gives have a cool and unexpected climax to them. Viriya eventually will send you a letter via courier a few days later, saying that she plans to start up a market stall in the market square of Riften, but needs materials to do so. So you'll need to obtain 1 lock, 4 iron fittings, 20 nails, and 18 pieces of firewood. One stop at the blacksmith, you could just make up all the metal stuff that you need. But as for the 18 pieces of firewood, you can go to somewhere like Riverwood and chop it yourself. Once you get those things and return to Viriya in Riften, you can give her the materials to make her market stall, then wait 24 hours. She kind of bugged out a bit for me until I left Riften entirely and then came back. But by then, she should have her own nice little market stall next to Grelka. And upon speaking to her after she's all set up, she will give you Viriya's Charm. Finally, out of the quest related uniques is the Fang of Haynekhtnamet. Irkngthand. Why is this name so long? This isn't just a decent dagger. It turns out that its base damage even surpasses that of Dragonbone, which means that it also surpasses all of the other unique daggers in the base game. So the only thing other unique daggers like Mehrunes Razor has on this thing is that they have their own special enchantments, whereas this one just has a shock enchantment. So like Viriya's charm was the culmination of her side of the quests, the Fang of Haynekhtnamet is given to you from Swims in Deep Water after you finish up Fishing Legend, which is the final quest in catching 4 legendary fish. And for being the last quest, all you have to do is what the quest says. Basically, use the proper rods in the proper locations and you'll get the legendary fish eventually. Return to Swims in Deep Water with these 4 legendary fish and he will refer to you as Kin as he rewards you with his dagger. I'm not going to attempt saying it again. You can't make me enjoy the knife. Now those were just quest rewards. I am going to go through a few honorable mentions and then we'll get into the 5 random rings that you can get and I'll go over their effects as well as how I got mine. So other things you can get through fishing quests that aren't entirely unique are the Vagrant robes, which we already talked about through the no contest quest. It's what the Vagrants are wearing, or the bandits are wearing when they attack you. Then there's the Irkngthand war axe. You can get 2 of these when you do the Beneath Bronze Waters quest. Like once the chest rises out of the water, you get 2 enchanted Irkngthand war axes. 1 fire, 1 frost, I believe. And after you get them, you gain the ability to craft them yourself too. So you can craft as many of these Dwarven war axes as you want after this point. Then there's the additional ancient Nordic weapons that were added with fishing for both special edition and anniversary. And that's things like the ancient Nordic warhammer, dagger, and mace, I believe. I think those are the only ones. Basically just ancient Nord weapon types that were just missing from the original game and then added through fishing. I have fished up several of each of these myself, but they'll show up in other loot pools too, like end of dungeon chests. Obviously, there's the 3 fishing rods too. Once you finish Caught in the Rain, you get the Argonian fishing rod. Crustacean Extermination, you get the Alakri fishing rod. It's probably supposed to be spelled Alakir. It's probably a typo. And then you also get the Dwarven fishing rod from the Beneath Bronze Waters quest as well. But all 3 of the fishing rods you can craft yourself after you unlock them. So again, that's in that weird gray area. Anyway, that part is done with. So let's go over the last 5 unique rings, each of which you can catch at random. First is the Ring of Phynaster, which gives a plus 20% magic, shock, and poison resistance when worn. Next is the Mentor's Ring, which gives a minus 10% cost to all schools of magic. Third is Ring of the Wind, which grants you a 15% movement speed bonus. The 4th is the Ring of Kynareth, which is the ring that I mentioned that has the exact same effect as the Lucky Fishing Hat. When worn, rainstorms occur whilst fishing at temperate lakes and streams. 5th and final is Denstagmer's Ring. This gives a plus 20% fire, frost, and shock resistance. So that is 20% elemental resistance across the board. All 5 of these rings have really cool benefits on their own. And it's a bit of a bummer that you can only wear one at a time, but that's how it works in Skyrim, I guess. I am going to go over the methods and oddities I ran into for getting all 5 of these random rings too, because you'll be sitting at fishing spots a lot and whatever edge you can get, I'm sure you're into. So first of all, if it's not clear, the Dwarven fishing rod is made for fishing up items. Junk items. So if you have the Dwarven fishing rod, you should be using it to fish up these random rings because they are in that junk item category despite being pieces of jewelry and not junk at all. I don't know how accurate the unofficial wiki is at this point, but it was saying it has a jump from 3% chance to 9% chance if you're using the Dwarven fishing rod to find these rings. That was the first thing. Second is they are completely removed from the loot pool once you've gotten one, so they are still one of a kind. Thirdly, I could not fish up 2 rings in the same spot. Maybe luck just wasn't on my side, but I did stay at some fishing spots for a very long time after getting one and not getting a second one. However, there were moments where it would just cancel out fishing for me, and I don't know if that was due to triggering rare fish or just not letting me get a second ring from that spot. So what I do recommend is fishing in different spots once you've gotten a ring from one. I think that may have an effect. I could be wrong. But after a while of fishing in 5 different spots, I had these 5 unique rings, as well as all the other stuff that I've mentioned in this guide. Minus the lucky fishing hat, because I didn't realize until later that you could lie to him and steal it. So tell me which of these pieces of jewelry or uniques you are enjoying using yourself, or what you're most anticipating getting and how you're going to use it. If you found this guide useful, entertaining, or both, please do whatever it is you see fit to show that. Among the things you can do is by supporting on Patreon, like the many amazing people on screen now. You'll gain access to monthly updates that include a little bit of a vloggy thing with my face and a personal story sometimes, and some unlisted stuff that didn't quite make it to the channel, but also I didn't want to delete. Thank you so much to my patrons. Thank you so much to Wasteland Legend Sven. Thank you for watching. I'm Kato Genesis, and may you wander Tamriel like you own it.